Hello and welcome to another of our Clarity Media puzzle solving videos. Today we're going to be solving Norinori, which is another Japanese logic puzzle. As you can see, it doesn't have numbers, which actually makes it a lot simpler to explain the rules for, but also I think quite a bit harder to solve. However, this isn't the hardest example and I'll walk you through it. So the rules are that you have to put 2 squares in every single one of these bold outlined regions. So if it's a region of 2, for example here, you know that both of the squares have to be shaded. But if it's a much larger region like here, then there's obviously a lot more choice. The other thing is that each square has to pair to another. So here again in the 2 region, both of the squares have to be shaded and they both have to pair to each other. And when 2 squares are shaded like this, they can't pair to any other square. You can't have a block of any larger than 2. And those are essentially the only rules. So 2 squares in every region shaded in. They have to pair to one other, which can be in another region. So these 2 could both be shaded in, for instance, as long as there was only one other square in this region. And also they can't connect in any way to any others. They can be diagonal to each other, but they can't be horizontal or vertical. So with the rules in mind, I'll just start filling this in. So I've shaded this one in the 2 square, and now I'll shade in the other 2 square here. And now having shaded both of these in, I can mark off with X's all the impossible squares, because you can't have any shaded regions of more than 2. And you see here there are 3 squares in each of these regions, and I need to shade 2 squares in each of them. But, as I've already said, you can't have any regions of more than 2. So if I were to shade like this, you can see instantly that it forms a 4 block, so that's impossible. And that means actually that I can't shade any square in the middle. So I can actually mark both of these squares with crosses, which therefore means the only 2 squares shadable in each region are these separated ones here that, as you can see, have to connect to each other. And then I can again mark with crosses all the horizontally and vertically adjacent squares. And now, as you can see here, that then means there are only 2 possible squares in this region which can be shaded. So I can shade those in. And these 2 squares have to each connect to one another. Well, they can't connect here, 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 here. They can't connect to each other. So it has to be these 2 which are also shaded. And what that does is actually finishes this entire large region here, because there's 2 in it now, and I can cross out every other square. So it gets a little harder now, but there's a way to proceed, namely by looking here and seeing, well, of these 3 squares, 2 have to be shaded, but it can't possibly be this square, because if it were this square, I'd just quickly do it lightly. If it were these 2 squares shaded in, then you can see that actually only 1 square would be remaining here that would have to be shaded in this L-shaped region, but that it couldn't attach to any other square because everything around it is cut off. So I can rub that out and rub that out a little shoddily, and I can mark this square with a cross, which means therefore these 2 in the top have to be shaded in. And as before, I can mark both of these with a cross. That, of course, is a leftover X, that shouldn't be there. And then I can shade in both of these squares. Which leaves me now with only 2 regions to shade in. So I make crosses here and here, and that leaves this square cut off from all the others. If it were shaded in, it couldn't connect to anything, so I can safely eliminate that as well. I'm then left with 3 in the top, and only 2 have to be shaded. But as over here, as before, if it were to be a block of 2, if it were to be like this, for example, you can see that that would actually cut off every square. These two couldn't then join. And likewise, if I were to unshade this one and shade, in fact, this top right square in, it would do the same. There would only be 2 squares here and here, and they'd also be cut off, which means I can safely eliminate the middle square. The middle square is the problem. And that being the case, the squares which have to be shaded are these 2, this one here and this one here, and that means that they have to, there's only one way each of them can go, and that's downwards into here and here. That's eliminated. So there you have it, a completed 7x7 Norinori. Not the hardest, and in fact some Norinoris can be really quite difficult, but still I think quite a fun puzzle, and one I definitely recommend you check out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to check out other videos, and I hope you have a nice day.